that also warm up the inside, gives energy and helps people feeling warm. So in winter, when it's hard to get warm because we lack energy, astragalus is a really good one. What else do I have?
How do you take the astragalus?
Well, I make myself a syrup.
Okay.
And that's another traditional way of using plants.
But for our listeners, can they just go to the health food store and buy this syrup?
They can buy them in capsules.
Or can they come to you and buy the syrup from you?
They can come to me and then I'll give them a recipe.
Okay.
But I don't make syrup per se because it would cost too much money. But it's very easy to make. It's like a soup. It's a big soup of plants.
Okay.
And then by letting it simmer for a long time, the water evaporates and it makes something really concentrated. And then you add some tinctures or sometimes molasses or sometimes honey to preserve it and make it sweet. Mm-hmm. And then it keeps in the fridge for a few months. And then it makes it easy because you can take many plants in little quantities per day. But the simpler way would be to go, let's say, to the health food store and you can have them in tincture form. And tinctures are the plants extracted in alcohol. Mm-hmm. But for adaptogen plants, most of them are more efficient when they're extracted in water because the constituents come out better in water than in alcohol. That's why the syrup is the traditional Chinese way and the way that makes it more efficient. But the other way works also from clients that don't want to do the syrup. They take tinctures and it works fine too.
Yes. Okay, so there's some things that people can do naturally to deal with, fatigue, general fatigue, and to rebuild the system naturally.
And the good thing with these plants is that they prevent all the chronic diseases we talked about. So by treating something you have now, I'm preventing other stuff that I'd rather not see happening later in my life, let's say.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. And I think in general our society is... we take our health for granted. Mm-hmm. We're young, we're full of energy and vitality, and we overeat, work, over party, over consume, and
overburn the energy.
And then we come into maybe our 30s and 40s, and then we go, okay, I'm not quite getting up as I used to, and what's changed, and then. As you said, then the little things start coming out and possibly a disease. And then that's when we wake up and we go, let's...
But there's also something, because you asked me how I deal with all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And something I think is important, and I repeat to my clients a lot, is because if you have more energy, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to keep on spending it or try to find a way to cut down on things you have in your plate? And I think that's the hardest part is to choose things and do things more slowly and preserve this energy instead of keeping on burning it all the time like we're used to. I'm
right with you because I have so many projects. I have so many things I want to do. And for the most part, I have pretty good energy and, nothing physically holds me back. But I just find that lately it's been harder and harder because I have so many passions, so many things I want to do. So I'm really looking at cutting back. Okay, what's the priority here? What am I really interested in doing? And my family obviously important because I recently got married, so that has completely changed my whole lifestyle. A full-time man in my life who wants to spend time with me, who doesn't have as much busy work life as I do, and finding myself torn now because in the past I was more, independent and, had not had to worry about that. And I have my daughter who's in her teens and who's, I thought it would get easier as they got older, but, it's
a different demand.
It's a different demand now because you really have to be present. I mean, she doesn't want you there because she wants to be in her room and doing her thing, right? But she wants you in the house. Yeah. She wants me in the house. She wants me around. So it's like my priorities have to change and they have to shift and really have to, like you said, knock things off the plate that are really not that important. And I'm learning to do that. And my body is reacting and saying, thank you.
Yeah. In many different ways. Some people have an increase in libido, increase in energy, less pain, better digestion, just by taking things off the plate. Yeah.
Well, all of that is good. Less pain, more libido. It's all good.
It's like the magic.
Exactly. So let me get back to some of the questions I had prepared. What would you say is the weakness in using herbology to deal?
Or the limits of
Yes, thank you.
herbalism? Yeah.
Yes.
It would be very acute situations like accidents, broken arms, appendicitis. I'm just naming some examples, or I'm hesitating because I'm thinking of cancer, but I think cancer is a good example of where the two can be mixed in a very, very powerful synergy. But in some cases, conventional medicine is more interesting than natural medicine. So it's a question of knowing the limit. But that's where herbalism has limits, is when it's very, very acute, because it's a better medicine for long-term treatment. It is very good for acute diseases like colds and flus or mild infections. But when it's a life or death situation, then herbalism is obviously not the best thing. And the other thing is getting information on what's going on in the body, like imaging of the body, blood tests, urine samples, stuff like that. That'll give us a good idea of where the imbalance comes from. That's something that herbalism can do, and it's a good thing when we can mix both conventional medicine and herbalism to get the best of both
One day
worlds.
that'll be possible, where a herbologist can order blood tests and urine samples and all of that.
Or work conjointement, work together with the conventional medicine. I think that's probably what's going to happen sooner, like in a holistic clinic or something like that. And conventional medicine, herbalism, and psychotherapy to help people knock things off their plate.
Yeah, that's right. Prioritize.
Yeah.
So before I ask you my next question, I just want to let our listeners know once again, they're listening to CIDI 99.1 FM, The Alternatives. You have choices. I'm your host, Ilya Kavukis, and my guest today is Anne Vestel, and we're talking about herbalism. And how does herbalism and medicinal plants work exactly? Maybe you can let our listeners know.
How do they? I think the best way to explain it is the medicinal plants have constituents that are like molecules that can be extracted from the plant and that have active actions, that have specific actions in the body. What's interesting is when you know which compound is extracted how, then it makes something more efficient. Sometimes people tell me, I tried this plant and it didn't work. And most of the time it's because it's not extracted properly. For example, milk thistle, that's a plant often used for the liver, has to be extracted in alcohol for it to be efficient. Traditionally, people used to eat the seeds, but most of the people have deficient digestive systems where either there's not enough acid in the stomach or there's inflammation going on in the lower part of the digestive tract, and that makes it hard for the body to extract the compound, and also it's not as concentrated, so not as efficient. And for example, if you did an infusion of milk thistle seeds, it would not be efficient, whereas if you took the tincture where it's extracted in alcohol, then it's going to work.
Well, that's very interesting to know.
It has to be extracted the right way, and those compounds are what some of the medications are made from, actually. Like aspirin comes from acid salicylic. In French, that's where my English stops.
Yeah, no problem. I like the bilingual. Go ahead.
And it's a compound found in many plants, like Reine des Prés, which is a meadowsweet, or le saule, a tree. And then you extract that acid salicylic, and it eventually became aspirin, which we use for to cut fever down or pain or
circulation. Cardiovascular.
Well, it's used in cardiovascular problems to thin the blood, because that's another. But the plants don't have that property. It's something that's added to the acid salicylic to make it be able to cross the blood-brain barrier, and the plants don't have that thing. So the plants don't thin the blood as much as aspirin will do, because of that molecule that's been added for it to be able to go into the brain and cut fever and cut pain. And
Sure. I'm just curious, do you